Hello and welcome to the Let That Shift Go podcast. I'm Noel.
And I'm Lina.
And this is where we talk about the good, the bad, and all the shift in between.
We'll just talk mad shift.
Let's get into it. And on this week's episode, what's the name of this one?
Blinded by the Shimmer.
Blinded by the Shimmer.
Yeah. And if you haven't heard of the Shimmer, you're going to today.
But first, let's get into these skin deep cards.
All right. We're going to use the amusing deck.
The amusing deck. Yeah, this is a new one for us. I'll go first.
Okay.
How has the way you deal with conflict changed over time?
Oh, man. Definitely for the better. Mm-hmm. Although I'm sure there are times when I slip, but I would say, growing up, I was a fighter.
Quick to
I was quick to anger and quick to
I could see that.
Get sarcastic or, I was really quick with the tongue.
Oh, yeah.
I could kind of cut you deep just with words.
A linguist, yeah.
Yeah, and I would take a lot of things personally. And now I think with the work, that we've done of really self-reflection and really being able to have some tools to regulate myself if I'm in conflict, I like to try and step into the observer of what's happening instead of just getting all caught up in it, and then, hopefully trying to choose a better response.
I mean, when you, early on, you would respond with sarcasm. At what point, in your teenage years, did you see you dealt with conflict different? And then when you were early in your marriage, I just wonder how it kind of evolved. Did you?
I think definitely it was sarcasm, fight back, defend myself.
It was the same for a long time, just better at it.
And the other thing I did and still do sometimes is shut down, is just shut down. I just withdraw. And I'll find that I don't fight as much, really hardly at all. And if I have any kind of awareness, then I can step into being the observer of what's happening, especially if it's not super personal to me. It doesn't really resonate anything with me. That's pretty easy. When it does and I kind of lose myself, then I feel a shutdown. Yeah. But I think it's gotten better. I would say it's definitely gotten better by at least 75, 80%.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel what you were saying. We grew up in the same household. So I was, the sarcasm and quick to joke and make fun of people, deflect, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So
not helpful.
Yeah. So much better now. What's your question?
All right. If you could tell everyone you met one thing, what would it be and why? Everyone you met, you could tell them one thing. What would it be and why? Besides breath work.
Well, I would, first would be to teach them breath work. 10, 20, 30. That's what I would try to do.
Yeah.
If I can tell everybody one thing, I think it would just be to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
And really see, the treasures and the triggers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's when it comes down to it. I know we say it all the time. Everything that I've even dealing with now is all about looking in the mirror.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm thinking about my kids, it's I'm thinking about the same thing about myself, but in a different way. Worried about not getting this done. He's not getting this done. But in the same ways, I'm worried about myself in those same ways.
I love that because I think that's even with conflict, if you can think of the mirror in every conflict, that whatever it is that you're judging in someone else, it's probably something that's being reflected back to you that you are judging in yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Or you don't like about yourself. So I love that.
How is it trying to put yourself into the other person's shoes? You know what I mean?
Seeing it from their perspective.
Trying to see it that's not exactly like the mirror, but
yeah.
In some ways.
Some ways it is. I mean, I think when you say the mirror is to look at your own reflection, look at yourself in the situation, how have you contributed?
Yeah.
But I think that every time somebody is, triggering you, that there's something there for you. So there's a mirror right there reflecting back.
Yeah.
There's something there for you to learn about yourself. There's a part of you that's not free if you are being kind of triggered in some way or being activated in some way.
Yeah.
There's something there for you.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like these cards.
I do too.
So let's talk about this Shimmer. This came about why?
Well, two things. So one of our listeners, Daniela, she had asked, she gave me some ideas for podcasts because I'm like, hey, let us know if you ever want to, hear about something. And she had asked about comparison and how that really kind of leads to depression and people constantly comparing themselves to everyone else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a good one because it's something we all do, especially with social media. And I saw this post by Eric Godsey. He's part of the Fit for Service team. He's an amazing human. He's just very knowledgeable. And he dropped a post about this book by Jonathan Haidt called The Anxious Generation. And it had some really alarming statistics, but ones that do ring true.
Okay.
And it was purely based on statistics. This is just facts, right? It's not just like an idea. Oh, maybe this is. But it's all about the anxious generation is talking about the shimmer, which is a psychological phenomenon, and it's deeply intertwined with the rise of social media and its impact on younger generations, especially. But I don't think it's just the younger generations.
No, because I'm on social media all the time.
Yeah, and I'm not part of the younger generation necessarily, but definitely I can find myself looking at something and saying, and the whole thing of I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
It pops up.
Yep.
Right? Because that resonates to some degree in many of us. I
find myself comparing myself to so many times.
Yeah.
Which is, I have to stop, comparing myself. But I'd rather find inspiration,
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. To find inspiration, it's one thing to get inspired by, because really if you're jealous of something, they're just showing you what's possible for you. Mm-hmm. But that's when you're, young and you don't have that that level of awareness. It's more like everybody's happy but me, or they look at all these high moments. I mean, not everybody's posting about their worst moments. They don't post a picture of them when they look the worst, when you're looking up at your camera and you happen to push the camera backwards, when it's looking at you.
Not everything is for public consumption.
No. And it's surface level stimuli.
Yeah. And most people don't post the bad stuff.
No.
They don't post the hard times or, hey, me and my wife are having an argument always, but sometimes you do see the fighting between couples and that type of thing. But for the most part,
that's a shadow effect.
Yeah. For the most part, we're really pushing out all the best parts of our lives.
Yeah.
And, somebody at home who's not maybe doing all of those things, seeing that, they're just feeling what? Like they're less than for some reason.
No, I'm not enough.
Yeah.
The not enoughness. And then when you gauge that too by looking at, well, how many likes did they get? And that's not a deep level of acceptance.
Yeah.
But it's that surface level acceptance. And then it's like the illusion of depth.
Yeah, and there's proven to get dopamine drops when you are surfing the phones like that, yeah.
Yeah, they can appear like to be really significant. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, this one got 100 likes. Or if you posted that picture and it got way more, then you're like, oh, I got to do more of that. So really, you're just curating your whole experience for the outward consumption of everyone else.
Yeah.
Which leaves you feeling very empty, So
you start becoming less of yourself and more of what other people want.
Less authenticity. So it's that disconnection from self. It's never going to lead you into, feeling like you are doing enough, that it is okay. That it's okay to have a bad day, whatever that is. But really what Haidt argues is that this effect has a heightened anxiety. Leads to heightened anxiety and a lot of mental issues. And we all, I think, to some degree recognize that because we can feel it in ourselves. But statistically, it is very significant with the amount of the rise in suicide, the rise in depression and anxiety itself. And I don't think anybody's ever really looked at the numbers on what it's doing, right? And we just all flock to social media. Tell us who we are.
Taking the time to put all this together and put all these statistics out.
Yeah, because
and it's shocking when you look at it.
It is. What is social media designed for? It's really just capturing attention, holding the attention through these shimmering moments, these glossy moments. But they're not really communicating the depth of the human experience.
No. You miss a lot of context.
Yeah.
I mean, I find even now, interacting with some friends only on social media, but then it's missing so much. I feel like even when we got together this weekend to have breakfast, it was like, it's so much different when you're together in person and you get the context that you don't get with the online shimmer.
Yeah, because the shimmer is, it's superficial engagement. It's just surface level. You really don't know the depth of anything. You literally spend about less than 7 seconds. I think, when you're looking at a post, 7 seconds is probably a long time.
Yeah.
You think about counting to 7. Do you ever look at a post for more than 7 seconds?
Yeah,
but
I
you
don't
notice
know.
the
I've never
likes.
counted, but I will now. Thanks. I'm going to be conscientious about
There's
that.
the challenge.
Yeah.
Look at how long you actually look at a post.
Yeah.
You know, how much attention you're giving it, but it's probably having an effect over and over and over.
Yeah. I'm going to go look at my phone and see how long I spent on social media, because the Apple phones you can track that and see how long you were on Facebook or Instagram or social media accounts.
Yeah.
It's got to be a couple hours a day minimum, even for myself, but it's got to be more for the younger.
What are the emotions in that you're accessing? It's inadequacy when you're looking at stuff like that.
Yeah.
Envy.
Yeah. Depends on what you're looking at, though, because my kids would tell me I'm using it wrong because it's about, race cars and stuff like that, or self-help stuff, and they're just, what are you watching?
Oh yeah, mine's like goats, chickens.
Yep.
Some sourdough bread stuff in there. But for I can tell you where it affects, like, how does that affect me? For personally, if I'm looking at something and maybe I'm looking at another coach or another breathwork facilitator or, things that I'm really interested in or things that I'm like working on to improve or grow. And I see someone else that's like, man, they're just doing it right. They have all these followers or they've got better advice or they've got this. So then I go into this, like, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing it better, which is not really inspiring to me. Sometimes that can lead to just like, kind of like the giving up.
Yeah. Like it's already been done.
It's already been done. This is not new. So it's like negative self-talk, that negative self-talk loop that starts to happen, which isn't helpful because I'm comparing myself to someone else. When if I didn't do that, if I didn't look at any other person who's trying to do something I'm doing and compare myself to them, I may just be walking through going, ooh, that's a great idea. Let me put that out. Or let me, make this move or let me do this. And it'd be like, yeah, good job, Lina. You did great today.
That's the way you're looking at it though.
It's perception. It's all perception. So looking at, or getting your dose of reality through social media is not really an accurate perception. It's not an accurate perspective on what life is about or what the human experience is about.
Yeah.
So it's shocking. Like, it's not just young adults, it's older adults, it's all of us, right? But statistically, when you look at the how it's affecting young people, it's even scarier because I think now I'm like, man, when I was growing up, this is going to date me, but the only thing that really told you how you were in comparison to other people was a thing called a slam book. Did you ever know what a slam book was?
No.
So
I think I've heard of it. I don't remember what it is.
Somebody would take like a spiraled notebook and then at the top you'd write a question like, who has the best this, or who's the least this, or who has the ugliest this or the greatest this. And then you would take the slam book and you just pass it around to everybody.
Oh yeah. They probably got banned by the time I was. You guys got it banned.
If you know what it is, you probably should go get a colon screening.
It sounds so demeaning to whoever.
Probably in menopause if you know what a slam book is.
Yeah. Well, you dated yourself. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway. So, but if, let's say people would fill that out and it make its way back to you. And then I'd be like, oh my gosh, they think I'm this. So then I would get this altered perception about who I am in comparison to everyone else.
Oh, okay.
Now you have Facebook, now you have Instagram, now you have, just social media constantly just putting out there, information about other people or how great you are. And it just builds comparison over and over and over. So for younger people now, you would be really, I don't know, when I read Eric Gotzi's post and I saw the statistics for mental illness, major depression among teens. Let me read this to you. The spike in major depression among teens has gone up in girls since 2010, 145%.
14 years.
In boys since 2010, that major depression has gone up 161%. These are not small measurements.
More access to more things.
More information, being barraged with information constantly is just building an altered sense of reality and, taking you out of your present, out of what's in front of you, things that you can be grateful for, the ways that you can grow.
It's like a different kind of abuse. I feel like we got all like the whippings and the lashings and they're getting kind of emotional abuse from social media.
Yeah. Only the thing is we're giving them the tools to do it. right? Because we're getting iPads, we're getting screens much earlier. It messes with the brain. But even with mental illness among college students, statistics for college students, anxiety up 134%, depression up 106%, and ADHD 72% increase since 2010.
72?
72% increase. You want to talk about bipolar, anorexia, substance abuse, schizophrenia, all of that has actually gone up between 33 and 100% just even in those categories.
And because of the way we perceive social media. So what's...
Or our exposure to so much information and this shimmering, the thing that you think, oh, everything it's so great for everyone else. What about me? This has not been my experience. And so it almost invalidates your own experience of whatever it is you're going through because it's in comparison to everyone else.
Yeah.
Anxiety, huge. I mean, we could go on and on. The other thing that I noticed, even as a nurse working, I did notice like if you working in the ER, we have something called a 5150.
Yep.
That's when somebody is, self-harm or harm to others.
Okay.
And I remember being in there and there would be so many kids.
5150?
5150.
Wow.
Kids, young adults, teens, but even younger kids. And it was like, what is going on? One, they're lacking the coping skills to deal with their own emotion. And they're just constantly barraged with so much information and comparison.
That was a constant thing in the ER?
That was constant. There was times, and you talk to I've talked to other pediatric nurses and same thing. They'll have a pediatric mental health unit for 5150s. So, it's...
Wow, I didn't realize that was a thing.
It's sad. No, that's the truth. That was my own experience. And the statistics, 188% increase since 2010 for girls, 48% increase for boys since 2010. So it's an important subject, and that it's one like just asking yourself if you have kids, is maybe delaying the screen time. Like, do they need it? Do they need to be exposed to everybody else's, shimmer constantly and adding to the not enough? Because that's definitely something, especially young people.
But we can't watch them all the time. So it's, part of me, I'm listening to you and I'm like, the parent in me is like, but we can't watch them all the time. So what about empowering them to give them the agency to know the difference, to maybe to notice the shimmer?
Well, having a discussion about what that is.
Yeah.
At least having the discussion about, do you know that this is a thing?
Yeah. Because rather than taking something away, I'd rather empower them with the information.
Yeah. And how to deal with
what
it.
we're talking about now. Like, please listen to I wish my kids listened to the podcast.
Yeah. I know. There's all kinds of stuff in here if you go back episodes on, tools for regulating your nervous system. So yeah, at this point, if, this is going on, and it probably is if your kid has an iPhone or iPad or Droid or whatever.
Well, our generation was the first ones, as adults to have things like and afford, an $800 iPhone.
Yeah.
So we started it and then we gave it to them.
And then we gave them no tools to deal with what was going to happen. One of it is we didn't know what was going to happen.
No, with all these statistics now, we're being informed.
So now you know better, we got to do better.
Yeah.
And teaching our kids how to regulate their nervous system, how to deal with their own emotions. But if you don't know how to do it, how are you going to teach your kids?
Yeah, the mirror.
Or maybe you go and do a little self-discovery, and see how it's affecting you and what are you doing to deal with it? Being the whole thing we talk about all the time is just awareness, just becoming aware that this is statistically significant. What is the science behind it and why? That's the thing. It's just becoming aware. And when you do, then there's a choice to be made. What do you want to do about it? Because, this illusion of significance, comparison and envy.
You're comparing yourself to who?
Yeah. Strangers who probably are feeling a lot of the same things you are, but they're not posting about it. It's just kind of the glossed over version.
Or years later, you find out some of these celebrities have all these skeletons in their closet, and issues. Yeah. And now you're like, wow, I idolize those people.
Well, the other thing too that is part of this is attention fragmentation.
What's that?
So it's like you're constantly just going from one thing to another. It's rapid, intermittent nature of like online
TikTok.
interactions. Yeah. It's
That's
just
7
rapid.
second, scrolling.
Rapid. Yeah. You're not fully engaged in anything. So your attention is always going in many directions quickly. So just being able, how do you be still? You know, how do you
Breath
even
work.
know how to be still? And I think we talked about before, like they did a study experiment with people, and they, you know, like a paid experiment where they come in and they don't know what they're going to have to do, but you come in. The experiment was really kind of like about meditation or being able to just be still, not even necessarily meditation, but you'd have to come in for like 30 minutes, sit quietly. No, you don't have any electronics, nothing. It's just being with your thoughts, maybe breathing for 30 minutes. Or as an alternative, you could go push a button on the wall that would shock you and it hurt. And then you could leave quicker and see which one did you prefer. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, a lot of people just chose the shock because it's just too much to sit still.
Yeah.
You know, we're so used to having our attention fragmented.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't lend itself to just any type of ability to self-reflect, to just really tune out the noise.
Set the phone down.
So the impact on mental health over time is just, it's chronic stress, anxiety, you know, diminished capacity for real world activity. I mean, it's even hard for a lot of young people to actually have a face-to-face conversation.
Yeah.
You know, we're so used to being able to say whatever we want, or maybe be a little bit bold when you're not face-to-face. But when you are, where's the emotional intelligence in being able to have a conversation, to have deep listening, to have self-reflection in that deep listening? I mean, that's a learned skill.
Yeah.
You know, so being able to practice that is something that lends itself into adulthood, into relationships.
And you can talk about the social media and the Shimmer effect while you're doing those real heart-to-heart conversations.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you got to make time for your kids and for the people in your life, and maybe finding ways to set your social media down or your phones down. It's so hard because even, you know, I've got an Apple Watch on and
constantly,
and my cameras, my, you know, the Tesla,
always
whatever,
available.
there's something always going off. So really, you know, using the do not disturbs and shutting those things down and being present with people.
Yeah.
Trying to set, you know, time.
Yeah. Digital detox. I mean, this isn't just, you know, well, maybe you should this is statistically, it's leading to some chronic things and some, you know, life and death things. I mean, when the suicide rates are going up and depression and anxiety is going up, chronic illness is going up, we need to look at what could be a contributor to that.
Well, the social media and the Shimmer effect.
Yeah, definitely.
So talk with your kids and
maybe, you know, and if you have really young kids, like maybe you delay the time that they actually have access to their phone, you know, or you set a time where you say, hey, everybody's phones are going down at this time and we're going to have some time as a family. But also, if you're going to give someone this, what really could become a weapon, is give them the tools to understand how to use it and what the effects are. You know, what are the possible consequences?
Is there a website that this information is posted on?
Well, it's Jonathan Haidt. Haidt is his last name. And the Shimmer effect is discussed in his book, The Anxious Generation.
Oh, The Anxious Generation.
Anxious Generation.
Yeah, I'm going to read that. That's going on my to-do list to read.
Yeah, please do. Because, you know, we're more than just what we post. And so is everyone else. But we really did come here for the full gamut of the human experience, which includes, you know, all the emotions. And not just the good ones, and then in comparing yourself because you are having the hard ones. Yeah. You know, just do you. Do you.
Do you. All right. That's been another episode of Let That Shift Go podcast. I'm Noel.
And I'm Lina. Let us know what your questions are, and we'd love to use them on a future episode. Or check us out on Insta at Let That Shift Go. Or visit our website, serenitycovetemecula.com.